Alright, so last week's Computex coverage gave us a lot to digest about the upcoming Ryzen 3000 series launch and the new X570 platform that it's socketing into. So I'm going to try and condense all of that into as tidy a package as I can and sort of speculate on where I think some of the purchasing decisions should or may be made once these products launch. So here's the quick lowdown on the Ryzen 3000 series processors themselves. More cores at the top end, smaller manufacturing process, apparently better energy efficiency with this process, higher core clocks across the range, better memory compatibility with higher memory speeds for dem gains, and of course, support for the first ever consumer desktop platform to feature PCI Express 4.0 connectivity. Now, as far as motherboards for X570 are concerned, massive vendor support right out of the gate, as we saw in a lot of the Computex footage that was out there. We can also see in the high end that there is a very strong emphasis on strong power delivery without the use of doublers for true multi-phase power delivery. We also have a lot more connectivity options than we had available to us before, with apparently fewer compromises. So then let's talk motherboard compatibility here, and I'll go ahead and throw one of the slides up that AMD's been showcasing. If you currently have a B450 or X470 motherboard, chances are you're probably fine to buy one of the new Ryzen 3000 series processors, even up to the 12-core chip, although with lower-end motherboards you may be a bit limited with overclocking support, given you're dealing now with 12 cores and 24 threads. And if you're on X370 or B350, you're basically going to have to keep your fingers crossed and hope that your motherboard vendor supplies you with a beta BIOS that will allow that motherboard to properly use these new processors. And if you want to upgrade to the new platform, but you're stuck on a first generation processor, your luck's up there too. Unfortunately, these new motherboards don't appear to want to support the first generation of Ryzen processors, so you would at least be looking at upgrading to a discounted second gen Ryzen chip once the third gen stuff launches. So then this all begs the question, who's buying what? Who's buying just the processor? Who's buying just the motherboard? And who's buying both? I'll let you mull that over while I describe my situation right now. I'm using a Gigabyte X470 Aorus Gaming 7 Wi-Fi motherboard. It's X470, I still have PCI 3.0 connectivity, I still have two M.2 slots on the motherboard, and I still have super robust power delivery. But the problem I'm faced with right now is because I'm populating both of my M.2 slots and I have an RTX 2070 Gaming Z slotted in the topmost PCIe by 16 slot, my expansion options are kind of limited right now, because if I go to plug something into any of the other PCIe slots, I'm either gimping bandwidth on my graphics card, or I'm eliminating one of my M.2 slots entirely, which for my workflow isn't really acceptable. Now, while I will admit that the majority of the time I'm gaming on this computer because I don't have a heavy release schedule, I still want to ramp up that schedule and I want to enhance my experience when I'm editing my videos. I want to have more access to more cores, more threads, faster RAM, more M.2 storage. And unfortunately for me, this motherboard, while it's still exceptionally good, especially if you're just gaming or even if you're doing some game streaming with an 8-core processor or something, for me, the motherboard is starting to show some limitations. So while I could still technically upgrade to the 12-core CPU with this motherboard, I mean, the power delivery on this is absurdly good, even by current X470 standards. I just don't feel like I would be getting all of my money's worth because I'd be missing out on the expanded connectivity options that exist with the X570 platform and the Ryzen 3000 series processors, and I'd also be missing out on better memory compatibility, which has sort of been a little bit of a weird issue with the G.Skill Ripjaws 5 memory that I use, since it's not a validated kit and my cast latency does really strange things with this motherboard. Motherboard tells it to do one thing, memory decides to do another thing entirely. I don't know what's up there. So strictly speaking, I don't need to upgrade, but with the promise of higher clock speeds and potentially better overclocking. Again, we have not validated anything with these new parts. No third-party independent reviews exist yet, so we're gonna have to wait until July to see that stuff. But on the surface, looking at everything that we've seen from Computex so far, if you're any type of prosumer, content creator, or you have like a really heavy 3D rendering or fluid simulation workload, buying into the higher end Ryzen chips for 3rd gen, along with X570, is actually looking like a really appealing and affordable way to get yourself into essentially HEDT class hardware without necessarily having the HEDT price tag associated with it. Now, if you're someone that's just now upgrading, you actually have a lot of options available to you, both from Intel and AMD. But with the impending launch of X570, the waters get a little bit more muddied here because there's some uncertainty with what the actual performance is going to look like for these processors and platforms. So I guess the long and short of it is we're all sort of stuck in a let's wait and see, but we're still really excited state of being. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. For those of you that have seen the Computex coverage, you've looked at some of the motherboards, you've been eyeballing maybe that 12 core, maybe even one of the 37 or 3800X parts, where do you think your money's gonna wind up going with this when these products launch? Are you looking at buying just the processor, just the platform, or are you looking at buying both? And if so, what are your reasons for doing that? I'd love to have this discussion with you guys. Anyway, toss a thumbs up on the video if you liked what you saw. Get subscribed for more content coming at you at least once every other week. Also, don't forget to follow me on my social media feeds. I'm on Twitter and Instagram @the Manic Geek. And as always, I'll catch you guys next time. So take it easy.